There's a kind of love that feels like running. You chase, not because you want the thrill, but because you've learned that love is something you have to catch before it disappears. They give you just enough to keep you hoping. A text that means everything. A glance that feels like warmth after weeks of winter. And every small gesture becomes proof that you're not imagining it, that the distance is only temporary, that if you just hold on, they'll finally meet you halfway. But they never do they? You end up orbiting someone who controls closeness like currency. They give affection in doses, connection on their terms, and you learn to live on scraps. It's not that you love the chase, you love the promise. The idea that one day, they'll stop pulling away, that one day you'll finally be enough to make them stay. Psychologists call this inconsistent reinforcement. When affection is unpredictable, it becomes addictive. Your brain releases dopamine not from closeness, but from anticipation. You start confusing anxiety with excitement, distance with depth. And yet, deep down, you know it's never really love, it's survival. Because once upon a time, you loved someone who withheld, and you learned to call their silence devotion. So let me ask you, why does it feel safer to chase love than to receive it freely? What part of you still believes that being chosen must be earned? Maybe it's time to ask what you're really running toward, and what you're still running from. You didn't wake up one morning and decide to fall for unavailable people. You were taught to. It started the first time love felt uncertain. A parent who was warm one day, distant the next. A caregiver whose attention you had to earn. A family where affection came second to approval. So you learned to chase what pulled away. You learned that longing was safer than disappointment. That wanting was better than being denied. And every time someone gave you just a little, it felt like hope. Like maybe this time, you'd finally get the love you've always been running toward. Psychologists call this anxious preoccupied attachment, a survival adaptation that confuses pursuit with connection. Your nervous system doesn't seek safety, it seeks familiarity. And familiarity, for you, has always been waiting. That's why consistency feels suspicious. Why calm feels cold. Why the ones who stay feel too easy. Because your body doesn't recognize steady love as safe. It recognizes withholding as normal. Have you noticed how quickly your mind fills in the gaps they leave? How silence becomes a story? How absence starts to sound like your fault? That's not delusion. That's your nervous system replaying an old script. If I can just prove I'm enough, they'll stop pulling away. But withholding isn't mystery. It's control. And you deserve more than breadcrumbs disguised as intimacy. So, ask yourself gently, who taught you to equate love with effort? And what would happen if you stopped chasing and simply stood still long enough to see who runs toward you? The truth is, being ignored doesn't just hurt, it hooks you. You start replaying every moment, every word, every glance, as if understanding their distance might undo it. You think if you could just explain yourself better, love harder, give more, they'd finally stop withholding what you've been starving for. But here's the trap. The more you chase, the more powerful they become. Their silence turns into your obsession. Their attention becomes your oxygen. And in that imbalance, you forget that love isn't supposed to feel like proving your worth. Psychologists call this the trauma bond loop. It's a push-pull dynamic fueled by intermittent validation, those tiny moments of closeness that make you forget the days of distance. Your body begins to crave the relief that comes after emotional starvation. Not the person, the relief. That's why when they text you after pulling away, it feels euphoric. Your brain floods with dopamine, and suddenly all the pain disappears. You forgive easily, not because they've changed, but because the cycle is predictable, and predictability feels like safety, even when it hurts. Have you ever wondered why the ones who give you peace feel boring? Why you miss the intensity of people who kept you anxious? It's because your nervous system is addicted to the chase, to the emotional roller coaster that mimics love but only delivers confusion. The hard truth? What you call chemistry might just be your body remembering chaos. What feels magnetic might just be familiar pain wearing a new face. And if that's true, then breaking the pattern isn't about losing passion. It's about finding peace and finally calling it love. When love has always felt out of reach, you start to build your identity around pursuit. You become the one who tries harder, feels deeper, forgives faster. You mistake effort for intimacy, as if the more you give, the more you'll be given in return. But love built on chasing is never equal. One person runs, the other reaches, and the distance becomes the relationship itself. You say, "I just love deeply," but what you really mean is, "I don't know how to stop trying," because stopping feels like failure. It feels like the story ending before you've earned the right to be loved. In psychology, this is tied to repetition compulsion, the unconscious drive to recreate unfinished emotional patterns in the hope that this time, the ending will change. You chase unavailable people not because you like the pain, but because part of you still believes that love withheld can eventually be won. That's not foolishness. That's loyalty, misplaced, but deeply human. You're not addicted to rejection. You're addicted to the hope of finally rewriting the story that once broke you. But ask yourself, what if the story doesn't need rewriting? What if it just needs ending? So you can start a new one where love doesn't need convincing. You've mistaken intensity for importance. But real love doesn't keep you guessing. It doesn't leave you waiting for crumbs. It meets you at the door, open, uncomplicated, and steady. So maybe the real question isn't why do they withhold? It's why do I keep mistaking their silence for mystery? Because mystery fades, but peace stays. Healing begins the moment you stop chasing what pulls away and start asking why distance feels like desire. You see, withholding doesn't create attraction. It creates anxiety. It awakens the part of you that still believes love must be earned, that attention is a prize for endurance. So, the work isn't about finding people who love better. It's about teaching your body that love isn't supposed to feel like survival. Start small. The next time someone goes silent, resist the urge to close the gap. Let the space breathe. Don't fill it with apologies or explanations that no one asked for. Notice what rises in the silence. The panic, the self-blame, the stories that whisper, "You did something wrong." And instead of feeding them, say softly, "It's not my job to chase clarity that someone refuses to offer." That's how you start reclaiming your peace, by refusing to confuse withdrawal with worth. Psychologists call this breaking the pursuit reflex, retraining your nervous system to stay regulated even when love feels distant. It's not easy. It feels like loss at first, because you're not just letting go of a person, you're letting go of the version of yourself that kept running after them. Have you ever noticed how exhaustion feels like devotion? How your body mistakes depletion for love? That's the wound talking, not your wisdom. You can want someone and still walk away. You can love deeply and still choose peace. Because healing doesn't mean you stop loving people who withhold. It means you stop loving them at the cost of yourself. One day, someone will meet you with the kind of love that doesn't make you chase. They'll text back without delay. They'll mean what they say and say what they mean. And when that happens, it will feel strange at first. Too easy, too calm, too kind. Your instinct might whisper, "This can't be real." Because for so long, you've mistaken unpredictability for passion. But this time you'll pause. You'll remember the ache of always reaching, and you'll choose to stay still. You'll let love come to you. Because love doesn't need distance to feel alive. It doesn't test you to prove its depth. Real love doesn't disappear to see if you'll follow. It stays. Quietly. Consistently. The chase was never about them. It was about your nervous system searching for what it once lost. Stability. Belonging. Safety. And now, you're learning that safety isn't earned through pursuit. It's built through presence. Yours. So tell me in the comments. Have you ever chased someone who only gave you pieces of themselves? What would it feel like to be loved without running toward it? If you could rewrite the rule of love for yourself, what would it be? Maybe, love that stays doesn't need chasing. Or, I don't have to earn consistency. Write your version below, the new law your heart deserves. Before you go, share this quietly with the friend who keeps falling for almosts. The one who mistakes tension for connection. Because maybe what they're really craving isn't the thrill of pursuit, but the peace of finally being met halfway.